I mean, people thought my whole trajectory was fake, and sometimes I wake up and I think my whole trajectory is fake, but it's just a testament to taking chances.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, I don't need your business. Thanks.
Hollywood just exploded after Rachel Zegler humiliated the entire industry. Again. What she pulled behind Spielberg's back on West Side Story is downright disgusting.
I sat through the whole thing. This was really bad. It was extremely leftist on every political dimension: racial politics, sexual politics, class politics, regime politics.
From diva meltdowns to political tantrums, her smug, unlikable energy has officially made her Hollywood's most unwanted actress. At this point, she's just a walking PR disaster.
This is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
Oh, Rachel Zegler. Once upon a time, Hollywood's newest shiny toy, the chosen one, with vocal cords of gold and Twitter fingers dipped in smugness. I mean, let's get this straight. This girl didn't even knock on Hollywood's door.
Have they ever thought about maybe like a little bit of like, I don't know, vulnerability study, opposition research, that sort of thing, before you go and hire some Zoomer who's a lunatic?
Spielberg opened it for her, handpicked her from a bunch of nobodies after her audition clip went viral. She was thrown into the lead role of West Side Story by one of the greatest directors of all time, and before she could legally rent a car, Disney was already dressing her up for a $250+ million Snow White remake. That's not a dream. That's a cheat code.
Rachel Zegler, we're supposed to believe, is just so striking that even the supermodel like Gal Gadot is supposed to be homicidically jealous of her. I mean, we're supposed to completely suspend our disbelief.
Critics lost their minds. Visionary, they said. Fresh, they gushed. One dude on Rotten Tomatoes practically compared her to a divine gift. And for a hot minute, the hype made sense. Spielberg was smiling, Disney was grinning, and audiences were kind of curious about this girl with the big voice and even bigger eyebrows. But then she opened her mouth. And I don't mean to sing, I mean to speak. And that, my friends, was the beginning of her grand tour from Hollywood's golden child to its most mocked cautionary tale.
So she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
Pretending like Rachel Zegler is the first of them all when she looks like Lord Farquaad in the film.
Because let's be real, the red carpets didn't stay red for long. They turned into battlegrounds. And instead of gracefully rising into stardom, Rachel decided to belly flop right into controversy with a side of insufferable attitude. She didn't just fall, she swan dived off the pedestal with such chaotic energy, even the Kardashians took notes.
Rachel Zegler, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution.
Her interviews became train wrecks, her press appearances felt like hostage videos, and her off-screen drama practically started to trend more than her movies. Within months, Hollywood insiders started whispering the one word you never want floating around your name.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
Blacklist. That's right. Spielberg, yes, Spielberg, was reportedly so done with her behavior, he labeled her horrible to work with. When the man who made E.T., Jurassic Park, and Schindler's List can't even fake a compliment for you during award season, that's not a red flag. It's a full-blown funeral procession.
But you don't seemingly like your own character, so she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
Let's rewind back to the West Side Story set, where this whole saga basically began. Imagine landing the role of a lifetime in a Spielberg musical remake. Most actors would show up early, keep their heads down, soak up wisdom from a legendary director. Not Rachel. Nope. Our girl allegedly marched in like she was the second coming of Barbra Streisand, with a side of TikTok influencer attitude.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
Insiders say she basically started rewriting the character of Maria in her own head, challenging choreography, because apparently she's a better expert than the actual choreographers. Multiple sources claimed she straight up halted production because certain moves didn't feel right to her.
Rachel Zegler, she's an asshole.
You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White. Right. You should shut up.
Oh, and let's not forget the costume drama, because she allegedly rejected outfits that didn't flatter her figure. Not didn't suit the scene, Not didn't work for the character. No. Just didn't look cute enough for her Instagram photo dump. Groundbreaking professionalism, truly.
She was, as woke as they are.
She just sounds bitter and angry.
But wait, there's more. She clashed with cinematographers. Yes, you heard that right. She was reportedly giving feedback on camera angles, like she's Roger Deakins' long-lost granddaughter. And the cherry on top? She allegedly gave notes to Steven Spielberg. Let that sink in. A 20-year-old with zero feature film experience thought she could give editing suggestions to the man who won Oscars before she was born. That's not confidence. That's Olympic-level delusion.
Every time she speaks, she gets less likable.
This truly is the worst casting, maybe in the history of the film industry.
According to crew members, Spielberg, known for his saint-like patience, was visibly irritated during rehearsals. Privately, he told people she was one of the most frustrating actors he'd ever worked with. And he's directed actual children. By the way, if you're wondering how Spielberg handled this in public, he didn't. That man went ghost mode. During every press tour and award speech, he showered praise on Ariana DeBose like she was his daughter, while Rachel's name barely slipped past his lips. The industry noticed. Everyone noticed. When Spielberg stops talking about you, it's not a PR glitch. It's a silent bullet to your career. But was Rachel humbled by this? Did she retreat, reflect, maybe reevaluate her approach? Oh no, she doubled down.
Rachel is literally the star of a Disney movie, and she acts like she's some sort of victim, and that's the sort of mentality that is just poisoning people's minds. Like, she acts like her life is so bad.
Fast forward to Disney's Snow White disaster. The Mouse House dropped $270 million into this reboot, hoping for another Beauty and the Beast-style juggernaut. For those keeping score, they needed $500 million globally just to break even. And who did they make the face of this nostalgic goldmine? Yep, Rachel. I hate fairy tales, Zegler. Fairy.
And you know the saying, go woke, get broke, and Disney's going to lose money on this movie. And I believe it only made less than $1 million in China.
Brilliant strategy, Disney. Bashes the prince as a stalker, and rolls her eyes at the concept of true love like she's too enlightened to care.
Nobody wants a movie about true love? What kind of woman do we want out there seeking true love, Eliana? It's the outrage.
Queen, playing the evil queen. It was pretty amazing.
Let's just say the backlash was immediate. It wasn't just backlash, it was a full-on internet riot. The moment her interview started dropping, Disney fans, lifelong generational fans, were like, nah, this ain't it. Her tone in those press clips? Snide, condescending, like she was lecturing viewers for daring to love a story that defined their childhood.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird.
1 minute she's saying the original Snow White promotes outdated values. The next, she's mocking the prince as if romance itself is offensive. Girl, you're playing a princess, not rewriting The Handmaid's Tale. And while the audience was already fuming, the critics weren't far behind. Candace Owens went nuclear, labeling Zegler disturbed, whiny, and unwatchable. And listen, Owens doesn't hold back. But even she seemed genuinely shocked at how Disney let this girl torpedo a billion-dollar IP before the first ticket was even sold. Industry insiders piled on.
This is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
Have they ever thought about maybe like a little bit of vulnerability study, opposition research, that sort of thing before you go and hire some Zoomer who's a lunatic?
One executive allegedly called casting her the worst decision in modern Disney history. Think about that. In a world where Disney once gave us Artemis Fowl, this was worse. The chaos spilled over to social media, where #NotMySnowWhite trended like wildfire. This wasn't one of those cancel culture flukes. This was a full-blown fan mutiny. People weren't angry because of race or politics or casting choices.
I would highly advise that you boycott this film, no matter how much your children love Snow White.
They were angry because the woman cast as Snow White spent months trashing Snow White. What did you expect? You want to be paid millions to wear a dress and sing in a forest? Maybe don't spit on the source material first. Radical idea. Disney, clearly desperate, tried to spin the narrative, blaming market conditions and shifting tastes. Nice try. But audiences weren't buying tickets. And they definitely weren't buying the merch. They were too busy memeing Rachel into oblivion. There's only so many times you can hear someone whine about how hard it is to wear a costume before people start throwing popcorn at the screen.
You say all you have to do to make your wish come true is let it echo, 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 echo.
So here we are. 3 years ago, Rachel Zegler was the future of Hollywood. Now, she's the punchline of every podcast, the eye roll of every casting room, and the cautionary tale every publicist is using to terrify their clients. From Spielberg's silence to Disney's implosion, she fumbled the bag harder than anyone in recent memory. And we're only getting started.
You to say all of Andrew's could get cut. Like, who are you? Oh my God. Are you Disney? I've read your book, and I have. It's a phenomenal book. You're losing generation of loyal viewers. When you think about Snow White, what is the premise? What is the story?
It's a love story. It's a love story.
It's a dream for a girl to grow up and a man falls in love.
If you thought Rachel Zegler's behind-the-scenes antics were bad, wait till you see her front-facing, public-facing, social media-fueled self-destruction. It's one thing to tank your career with diva demands on set, but it's a whole other level of unhinged to go full scorched earth mode on Instagram. The moment she decided to post "May You Never Know Peace" to Trump supporters on her verified account was the moment she officially crossed into PR suicide territory.
You are not entitled to call for Trump supporters to be harmed. Like, you are actually not entitled to do that. And so let me just remind you, Rachel Zegler, of what the map looks like, just so you can understand when your Disney movie is coming out, how many people you are wishing harm upon. Like, this is America right now.
Like, girl, you're the face of a Disney princess movie, not the lead speaker at a political rally in a college basement with bad lighting. Who told her that openly mocking half the country was a genius brand move? No one did, because it's not. It's idiotic.
That's ridiculous. How dare you want to meet a handsome prince and be swept off of your feet and live happily ever after? No, you should want to be the prince. You should want to go out and fight the bad guys with a sword.
And oh, did conservative media feast. Megyn Kelly practically hosted a roast session on air, ripping Rachel into pieces and calling for a full-scale boycott of the movie. And honestly, it worked. Families ditched their plans to see Snow White, parents swore off tickets, and suddenly the princess reboot turned into a political battlefield. All thanks to Rachel's inability to, how do we put this gently, shut up.
It's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign.
The more she talked, the more radioactive she became. She wasn't just alienating the audience, she was offending them, one smug quote at a time. Mocking romance? Check. Trash-talking classic fairy tales? Check. Demanding extra pay because wearing a costume made her feel emotionally drained? Checkmate. She was the full package of public relations poison. And apparently, Disney agreed.
A few lessons for Disney. Number one, stop cannibalizing all your old IP. Like, it's really bad. It's really bad business. Number two, please stop changing all of the historic plots, which actually have meaning to generations of people, to instead become generic woke story about how woman leads revolutionary uprising and she don't need no man.
According to leaked internal emails, some execs straight up called her a PR nightmare who doesn't shut up. Imagine being so insufferable that the happiest place on earth wants to mute you. Executives started asking what should have been asked months ago. Can we even trust this girl with a family-friendly brand anymore? Or are we just burning money every time she opens her mouth?
And to constantly say things that are like just atrocious because they're looking for attention and they can never have enough of it. They can never have enough of it.
But let's not pretend this all started with Snow White. No, the Rachel Zegler chaos machine started humming much earlier, specifically during her time filming West Side Story. Remember that whole Golden Girl moment when she was cast as Maria and people were calling her the future of Latinx representation? Yeah, that fell apart too. Turns out, even her identity came with controversy.
These are roles made for actors of my stature. I can't go out for the Harrison Ford or the George Clooney roles because that's not for me.
Sources from within the production claim she was asked to prove her Latina heritage during casting. An ugly, messy, uncomfortable situation that should have been handled with tact. Instead, what did Rachel do? She took that private drama and aired it out in interviews like she was starring in an HBO docuseries called Rachel versus Reality.
They have been making this film for a very long time because it's just been so scandalized. And so they had to basically put it on ice after people were firstly outraged by Rachel Zegler speaking ill about the prior film, the film that she was remaking. And it's such a weird thing for their whole pitch as feminists to be is like the best thing you can strive to be as a man.
Rather than addressing it carefully, she went full on, woe is me, throwing the studio under the bus and weaponizing identity politics in the middle of a press tour. Suddenly, the movie wasn't about West Side Story anymore. It was about Rachel Zegler's endless crusade against perceived oppression. Studio resentment quietly bubbled over. Some crew members reportedly felt like her constant victimhood narrative was creating tension and stealing attention from the actual film. And once again, Spielberg said absolutely nothing. You know it's bad when the man who built careers out of children whispering to aliens decides to just keep sipping his coffee and let the fire burn. And just when you think Rachel couldn't tank her reputation harder, enter Snow White's CGI dwarf crisis. Oh yes, we're going there, because this was next level stupid. It all started when Peter Dinklage called Disney out for casting little people in backward roles. Now, fair point or not, Disney freaked out.
Its narrative was cowardly. It was just awful.
Remaking the movie, they just got rid of the dwarfs. But they have one token dwarf amongst these magical creatures. You actually just went backwards. You actually just erased the dwarfism side of it, the disability.
In a panic, they ditched the traditional dwarfs and replaced them with, wait for it, glowing CGI blobs. Yes, actual digital creatures that looked like something cooked up by a toddler with a crayon and access to After Effects. The reanimation reportedly cost millions, but Disney was too deep in the hole to stop.
Controversy in Snow White. The dwarves have been eliminated in the live action.
Yeah.
Now it's Snow White and the 7 magical beings.
Wait, it's 7 and the magical beings?
Yeah,
They won't even say
magical
and the 7
beings.
dwarves?
No, because they're not dwarves.
And of course, what did Rachel do? She jumped in with the worst possible take. She praised the change, called it progressive, like she had just solved world peace by erasing a centuries-old fairy tale icon. Meanwhile, actual dwarf actors were out here furious. They weren't just disappointed, they were pissed. One even called it a slap in the face. Another pointed out that this was one of the few roles available to actors of shorter stature, and Disney just snatched it away for some bad glowing blobs and a political statement no one asked for.
That's one interview clip that you read the quote from, but she's gone on to talk about this film numerous times, how she once thought Snow White was creepy, she doesn't like the prince, she thinks she should get paid more because she has to wear that dress, she should get paid for streaming, for every hour she has to wear the dress. I mean, talk about biting the hand that feeds you.
But Rachel? Oh, she was too busy patting herself on the back to care. The identity crisis didn't stop there. Snow White spiraled into a feminist-themed fever dream no one recognized. Gone were the classic lines, the romantic themes, the magic. In their place, Rachel preaching about how the prince is a stalker and how Snow White won't dream about true love.
She's not gonna be safe with the prince, and she's not gonna be dreaming about true love.
Girl, you're in a fairy tale, not The Handmaid's Tale. Not every child watching needs a TED Talk on independence. They just want a happy ending and a cute song. But Zegler turned what should have been Disney's safest bet into a gender politics seminar led by the most unbearable professor you've ever had. Let's talk numbers, shall we? Because at the end of the day, Hollywood doesn't care about ideology as much as it cares about profit, and Snow White was an unholy financial mess.
That they're absolutely f***ing atrocious.
Who wants a movie about true love?
Final tally, $43 million in the US and barely $195 million globally against a bloated $270 million budget. That's not underperformance. That's an outright financial faceplant. Disney insiders started whispering about losses nearing $150 million. And considering the marketing bill, that number's probably conservative.
catastrophically. They spent $300 million, and it currently has a 2.2 out of 10 rating on IMDb.
The movie has a major identity crisis.
No merch push, no international recovery, no meme-worthy resurgence. Just dead theaters, dusty shelves, and Rachel Zegler smiling in every clip like she still doesn't understand how badly she wrecked it. And guess what? She never apologized, never owned it. Not once did she say, maybe I should have respected the legacy of this role, or maybe I shouldn't have called fans creepy.
I'm guessing that she's not married. I'm guessing that she doesn't have kids. The movie is a complete disaster, by the way.
Instead, she gave us vague fake tears moments about being misunderstood and how she's just so emotional. Spare us. You weren't emotional when you were tweeting trash at audiences and dismissing romance like it was a disease.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
And now, Hollywood's spooked. Casting rooms are skipping her name. Executives are pretending her headshots never existed. Studios are terrified that bringing her on will mean more controversy than box office return. Because if this disaster taught them anything, it's this. You don't hand a $270 million IP to someone who thinks press tours are just extended soapboxes for their personal political rage. You don't give a fairy tale to someone who thinks they're above the fairy tale. And you sure as hell don't let someone trash your brand in interviews and still expect audiences to show up.
So no Prince or a different kind of Prince?
I'm sure a lot of people will assume it's a love story just because we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude.
Yeah.
Rachel Zegler wasn't just a miscast. She was a full-blown brand risk wrapped in entitlement, sprinkled with smugness, and served up with a side of career implosion. Every studio watching this train wreck has taken notes, loud and clear. So here's the million-dollar question. Where the hell is Spielberg now? You'd think the man who personally plucked Rachel Zegler out of digital obscurity, launched her into stardom, and called her a remarkable talent, would at least toss her a life preserver when she was drowning in the backlash ocean she filled herself. But nope, he ghosted her harder than Hollywood ghosted originality. While Ariana DeBose was getting praised, spotlighted, and paraded around as Spielberg's pride and joy, Rachel was out here collecting dust and pity retweets. This wasn't a PR hiccup. This was Spielberg throwing her career in the recycling bin and choosing not to hit undo.
You know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
And Hollywood noticed. Oh, they noticed. Because when Steven Spielberg doesn't defend you, it's like the Pope refusing to baptize you because you sneezed on the holy water. The message was clear. Spielberg was done, and so was everyone else. Industry insiders straight up said, if Spielberg won't speak up for you, your career is already over. Harsh? Maybe. Accurate? Absolutely. It's honestly impressive in a backwards kind of way. Rachel Zegler managed to ruin not just one, but two high-profile Hollywood dreams. Spielberg's prestige musical revival burned to the ground. Disney's billion-dollar live-action fairy tale goldmine reduced to soot and memes. All because she couldn't grasp the basics of celebrity etiquette. Don't insult your fans, don't mock the material, don't torch your own project in interviews like it personally offended you.
It's got extra musical numbers that are incredibly unnecessary that really add to that runtime. And let me go ahead and let you know that they're absolutely f***ing atrocious.
She walked into Hollywood with every golden ticket imaginable. Spielberg's seal of approval, a Disney crown, a Golden Globe win. And what did she do with it? She lit it all on fire and danced on the ashes. Instead of building a career, she built a warning label. A living, breathing, what not to do manual that casting directors are probably handing out at brunch meetings. And the cherry on top? She still refuses to take responsibility. Not 1 ounce of genuine accountability. No, I could have handled that differently. No, I let people down. Just smug half apologies and teary-eyed humble brags that scream damage control instead of growth. Rachel Zegler didn't just fumble the bag. She punted it into a canyon and blamed the wind. In the span of 3 years, she went from being called the future of the industry to being the punchline of every casting joke. She became that name you whisper in meetings when someone asks, "What happens if our lead goes rogue?" Executives now treat her like the Titanic. Expensive, overhyped, and entirely avoidable. Every time she trends, it's not for a role. It's for another reminder of how fast a career can nosedive when ego outweighs gratitude. Hollywood doesn't do second chances just because you're talented. Especially not when that talent comes wrapped in controversy, entitlement, and the social media personality of a Twitter troll. They've moved on. The spotlight's off. And the silence? That's the loudest thing Rachel Zegler will hear for a long time. Rachel Zegler didn't just ruin Snow White. She ruined her own career. Subscribe for more brutal Hollywood takedowns. They won't see it coming, but you will.